Hello, friends and fellow gamers. My name is tempestmask1000. Some of you know me as Steve, your friendly neighborhood storm, bringing you Mega Man Xtreme 2 and the start of a Mega Man X block, if you will. Some of you might have caught me earlier today here at Derpathon. I was doing a Mighty No. 9 race with my friend Ipe Hopue, or JP, and now this is going to be solo Mio with my very first speed game, and also my very first owned Mega Man X game ever since I found my American cartridge at my local GameStop. So this is Mega Man Xtreme 2, a game released in 2001, some months before Mega Man X6, and chronologically it does take place in between X's 3 and 4, so the fact that we'll actually be trading it off to 8-Butt with X4 makes a lot of sense. So I hope you all are pretty excited about that. Today's category I'm going to be doing for you all is the Xtreme No Credits Warp, which was discovered originally by Focus Site, that in the Japanese version, you can jump straight to the credits using the exit button on the pause menu when you enter a boss chamber in the boss rush. So I will not be doing that for this run, and instead I'll just be beating the game back as it was known for any percent Xtreme at the time. Now, I will be, a couple of footnotes, I am running this on official hardware. This is actually the very first time I am doing so for an online event, or any event, through the Japanese version specifically. And I would like to give a very special shout out to fellow runner and good friendo of the Mega Man X community, Focus Site, for providing me one of his 2 cartridges to be able to do this. Very much appreciate you, buddy, and I was planning on inviting him here. Unfortunately, he could not make the time, so I'll be doing this one for you, man. Alright, quick options check. We've got select set to character swapping, we've got rapid fire turned on, and auto charge turned off, and time will begin when I select Xtreme mode, and that'll be in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's rock. Alright, folks, so little something to know about this game is that, oops, I just realized we got a blue bar. Don't worry, that'll go away soon, I promise. We have a game, like I said, that takes place in between Mega Man X3 and X4, and we are on Lagoo's Island. We just saw Iris in the cutscene, and she will act as our navigator for this very tale. And she's supposedly doing something of an internship over at Maverick Hunter HQ, something where she's supposedly getting experience, maybe to work for Repliforce in the time between this and X4, who knows. But right now, there's a bit of a crisis going on called the Erasure Incident, and how it's all playing down is Reploids around the world are suddenly becoming immobile, almost as if their life has been ripped right out of their bodies and personalities, like they're literally just doing nothing. And so the world has dubbed it the Erasure Incident, and the Maverick Hunters have pinpointed a erasure incident happening on Lagoo's Island in the Southern Ocean, where X and Zero are now investigating. This is our first boss, Skullhead. I like to affectionately call him Mega Skeletor in the same vein that X3 runners call Dogu the Giant Mr. Fisty McGee or something to those lines. And with that, we are already done with the boss. He's pretty easy, as you can see. It's all about trying to keep him to the side and just pelleting his head. Now, one thing about Mega Man Xtreme 2 is that in Xtreme mode, you have immediate access to a feature that in X and Zero mission is normally acquired after you defeat their respective 4 Mavericks. That being the ability to swap between characters. This is a feature that you would normally expect to have been available starting with Mega Man X7, but in fact, it actually began here. Interestingly enough, some of the stuff that I will be doing with Zero actually originates from Mega Man Xtreme 1 prior. How that worked was X had 8 armor capsules, and a certain set of 4 of them were all about getting these Zero summon moves, and one of the moves that he uses in that circumstance will be acquired here, and well, it'll be a major boss killer, let's just put it that way. Aside from that, we had just bumped into a very shady-looking figure named Gareth, and he is calling himself a Soul Eraser, which basically is his little idea of being a Maverick Hunter, but we are the real Maverick Hunter, so we're just gonna say, hey buddy, look, you're being a bit sus, can you fess up? And he says, okay, well, how about you defeat this island's guardians first, which just so happen to be a bunch of resurrected Mavericks from X's 1 to 3. So we're going to start things off with Wire Sponge, and the reason for this is pretty simple. In Zero's campaign, it's not only a very good starter stage, but in this case too, it'll also prove very valuable for a special ability that I'll be collecting in our second Maverick stage. So right now, I will say that normally if I was doing the 100% Extreme category, I would actually go under the elevator to find the first armor capsule for, believe it or not, Zero, as in this game, he gets his own set of 4. How Dr. Light ever managed to make the time to actually perfect that tech for him, I have no clue, and the game does not explain either. But in the 100% category of things, I would normally be collecting all of the collectible upgrade items, as well as all 4 capsule parts for X and Zero. There is another thing to talk about in this game, though, called the parts system, or DNA Souls. DNA Souls comes in a currency that will be given to us through each special diamond-shaped health and weapon refill that we get from enemies that has a white circular center in it, and we'll get some parts value for it, which you actually saw me get to buy Saber +1 before jumping into Wire Sponge. Which, speaking of, here he is, so I'm gonna try not to get him angry. I can only hit him with air slashes up to 5 times before he does so, and he's already giving me the move that I want to see him use after the fact, so let's wait a little bit and hope he does it again. There we go. And that was the best RNG that I could have asked for. Some of it, anyway. It probably could have went a little bit smoother, too, but that is a very good Wire Sponge fight, and you don't see a lot of those sometimes. That guy can be a real jerk. So I am very happy about that, and the reason why I didn't want to get him angry is that, like in Mega Man X2, whenever he is ticked, he will become invulnerable to damage and then start to shoot lightning at me. And it actually changes up depending on which mode you're playing, whether it's you fighting him in a Zero mission or Extreme mode. See, bosses will have certain things about them change between whether they're fought in X or Zero mission and Extreme mode. And in some cases it's getting a new move, in other cases it's small property changes. Such was the case for Wire Sponge's Strike Chain, where in Zero mission I can actually step inside the chain and not get damaged for it, whereas in Extreme mode, believe it or not, I do get normal damage, as many would expect to normally happen. This game does a few interesting things, let's just put it that way. Now, I'm going to be a little careful here, because Zero is at low health. And now you know why I picked up that life. Luckily, we did hit a checkpoint, though, and that right there is also a very good time to talk about how, 1, extra lives are very scarce. That location that you saw me get it in Wire Sponge is probably the only notable drop to ever find one. And I don't know if enemies will ever try to give you one when you destroy them. It sure as heck feels like they never will, because I've played this game for so many years and I've yet to see it myself. But, of course, you know, no harm, no foul in getting that extra life, that's why I do it. And now you see why I went to Wire Sponge first, so that is the first instance of a Zero technique. Where X has his usual way of doing weapons, Zero has 2 types of techniques. One which is initiated through the pause menu by selecting its respective icon, provided that he's in the right positioning for it too. And then there's button combos, which by defeating Tunnel Rhino we will get our first instance of the latter category. Now, I am using the ride armor here. This thing does have a nice little hover pack to it, and it also has a charge attack in X's case, but it's really just like a charge punch, a little lunge punch. It's not that fast, and it keeps you still. Unfortunately, I missed out on a big health pickup there, but, you know, simply my decision there. So now we're coming up to a little lava section here in Tunnel Rhino's stage, where you'll see the lava start to rumble before it pops up. Now, luckily, it does just regular damage. It will not instant kill me, which is good. It's still going to be a bit annoying to deal with, though, just as much as those little mechanical tank enemies. I don't know what they're officially called, and I probably wouldn't care anyway, because those things are probably the worst enemies of the game. They can do lob shots at you, and then they can shoot their drills, and even when you destroy them, they'll fire 2 drills at you because they just want to send a little parting gift. And that was close, what the jeez. I don't know why I was having a little trouble with that wall climbing there, but we made it. Alright, so you saw me equip another part on me. That is the energy saver, and that is going to cut my weapon consumption in half. And that's because with the the first armor capsule that we picked up for Zero, that will grant him Zero Final, which is one of the techniques that he has in Xtreme 1 that you can summon him for and all that good jazz. This is going to be a bit tricky. Ooh, okay, we're good. Alright, that was a bit close. Tunnel Rhino's contact damage is probably the scariest thing about him in this game. But, yeah, we have Zero Final, and it will deal, I believe it's 10 damage to our bosses. Now, the only problem is the weapon consumption is a lot, much to the point that he can only really use once, normally. But with Energy Saver, we have cut that in half, and now we can use 2 of them. And so the boss strategy from here on is going to be 3 jump slashes and 2 Zero Finals, and they're gone. Now, we are being introduced to Berkana, the Master of Gareth, and the other Soul Eraser of this game. She is a very rare instance of a main villainess in a Mega Man X game, or Mega Man game in general, and who she is a former Reploid research scientist in the laboratory here on Lagoo's Island that went rogue. She's deciding to use the power of DNA souls to benefit her own means of getting stronger and thus becoming more beautiful by gaining the ultimate power. Something to those lines. And we're going to put a stop to her. That said, big shout out to how Berkana's design is very witch-like and how Gareth's is very knight-like. I just love those two's designs. They may not be the most memorable characters, but I mean, heck, at least with Berkana, it's not every day you see a character like her at the forefront of what X and Zero have to fight, so mega props to Capcom for coming up with that character, for sure. I will give a quick shout out though to Ferrum, because I know some people really don't want me to forget that Ferrum exists, and I wouldn't either. I love Mega Man X Command Mission, if only I actually played the game. So now we're going to get a armor capsule for X, and this is actually the only one we will need, because you notice that Zero has the ability to do an air dash whenever I press the jump button in the, in air. And now, X will be able to do the same, but like in Mega Man X3, he'll also have the upwards dash, which will be very useful for certain situations. So, not only does it make him as mobile as Zero, but trust me, it'll also come in handy. It will, excuse me for stuttering, also come in handy. So now we just did a little sequence skip by taking the damage boost to avoid getting pushed by that tidal wave, because that just forces X backward, which is a bit of a nuisance, especially if it pushes you into the spike pit. But from now on, for the rest of the stage, any instances of incoming waves, they will be flashing with yellow electricity water, and that will instant kill you, like that. So that room and the chamber beforehand, those waves are no touch. Now, one little quirk about this game is that swapping characters will go much faster the closer you are to the ceiling. So that's why I did exactly that on that bridge right there. As we come to Volt Catfish, who, by the way, his level design seems to have a lot of toxic seahorse to it, much to the point that I like to joke he's basically crashing the place and just claiming it's his own. That should do it. There we go. Yeah, Volt Catfish is admittedly one of the worst bosses to deal with, especially when you do not have his weakness as X, or just a strong enough technique to keep him at bay, because his moves are usually the kind that just act very tenaciously, and yeah, he can do a lot of damage to you as well, so... But it's also so funny to see him get constantly pushed back when you use X's weakness on him, which is the Ray Claw. So now we've got... Not the bees! Ah! Welcome to Blast Hornet's stage, which has become completely retooled into an air base, which is now being attacked by an air fleet. And this is probably my favorite change of in-game level design compared to the original content, and not all Mavericks do this. This is normally seen in the Mavericks from X's 2 to 3, whereas X1 Mavericks have very faithful recreations of their stage, which also was the case for Xtreme 1 and its Mavericks, but Xtreme 2 does quite a bit different here, that I honestly think this game is easily the better of the two, as well as some of the additions and details it throws in. Dang, that's unfortunate. I'll have to respawn that platform right away. It's not every day I miss that one, but hey, what can you do? Let's try that again. Now, normally that skip is a lot easier to use X's up dash for, but it is possible to use Zero, despite him not having an up dash, but it does require a bit of timing, and yet it's also used in his Zero mission run regardless, so... We're going to have one more armor capsule here for Zero, and this is going to be his body armor, which will reduce his damage by half. And this will come in handy because Zero's damage is usually considered to be a bit more glass cannon-like, at least from my experience anyway. Now, you saw me use a new move right there. This is exactly what I was talking about from the technique we'd get from Tunnel Rhino. It's called the Drill Crush, and in order to use it, I have to press attack while holding down while in midair. It's also good for midair positioning because it has Zero stall for a second or two, and then he does the strike, which is really cool. It's especially good for laying the hurt on an enemy at a specific timing if you get it just right. Now that mini-boss right there, I like to call Blinker Wall, alongside my friend and fellow runner Rose Zorn. She and I know this boss all too well for its RNG, where it decides which lights to flash, and you can only destroy them when they're red. And in Extreme mode, 2 lights will shine at a time, but in Zero mission, it's going to be only 1. And that's where the boss's RNG really is at its worst. Looks like he's going to use... Ah, dang it. That's unfortunate. So, that was a case of being knocked back in the wrong direction right there, and Zero Final, you can't really aim that. It's only going to have Zero move in the direction of which forward-facing direction he is at, so not much I could have done about that. But that was still a pretty decent fight. Managed to make it work. And now we move on to Overdrive Ostrich to clear out the Zero Mission Mavericks from the rest of the run, which means we are going to be focusing on the Mavericks you normally fight in X Mission for the rest of the way after this guy. So yeah, Extreme 2, like Extreme 1, splits its campaigns into shorter stories, but then once you defeat both of them, you can then unlock a final mode that gives you the full story experience. Extreme mode also does a little something where it gives you the true final boss of the game by throwing in an extra stage along with the Maverick refights. So this is one of the nice things about getting to see this category run, but I will say that once we do get to that final boss fight, there will be a flashing warning in place because Capcom and their damage effects used in this game have a decent bit of flashing from time to time, and yeah, let's just say this was around that time when developers did not know how to properly treat the eyes of other gamers. I'm not going to go for that one. I'm just waiting for that to clear. I like to call those things sandstorm generators because those or sand tornado generators, they're instant kill, so you don't want to have the little whirlwind touch you at all. Otherwise, I guess the density of the sand makes it sharp enough to completely shred through X and Zero somehow. I don't know. It's interesting, though. We also got the Ride Chaser here, which acts a bit more like how it would in the PlayStation games, although it cannot do a turbo dash. Instead, you can only press the attack button or up to have it do that little melee attack that it does. And I would definitely recommend using the up direction to do that, because it does mean that you can, blanking on the words right now. It does mean that you can have a little bit more mobility for attacking, I believe it was, something to those lines. Anyway, Overdrive Ostrich. In Zero Mission, you can actually keep him inside the battlefield if you fight him just right. In Extreme mode, though, he will go out of bounds if he starts to make the movement, and there is no stopping him whatsoever, so... Unfortunately, he got one in there, but otherwise, he wasn't much of a jerk himself. And that's good, considering that, as we all know in video games, birds are jerks, even the flightless ones sometimes. So now you're going to see something a little bit different within Flame Mammoth's stage here. and I want you all to keep an eye or ear out for it. For now, I'll just give myself some time to let you listen and watch. So, any eagle-eared viewers might notice that this is actually not Flame Mammoth's level theme. The interesting thing about the Japanese version of the game is... Oh no. Did something happen? Oh no. I'm just gonna keep on going. No problem. Alright, well... Moving on. Yeah, so this is not Flame Mammoth's theme. This is actually Launch Octopus's. Yeah, unfortunately, Nublar, it's not Spark Mandrill. Spark Mandrill was an Extreme 1. But man, wouldn't it be great if we could hear it now. Yes, this is Launch Octopus's theme. This is one of the quirks of Capcom's programming in the Japanese version. It's fixed in the worldwide version, but you know, the US PAL version. But the reason I don't use that is because text scrolling is much faster here and saves about a minute or so. Let's be a little careful here with those fireballs, because I have had a history where it's touching them after using Zero Fire or Zero Final, while at low health, has killed me and has resulted in a double KO. I'm not even joking. I've gotten a double KO from that scenario twice. It's not fun, but it is funny. I can laugh at it. I just also then groan at it. Stay hydrated, friends. So now we go into Guns N' Roses Tiger. I mean, what? But yeah, I always like to think about how people say Neon Tiger's theme resembles that of Guns N' Roses' My Michelle. And ever since listening to the song for the first time, I see it. So, we got some more ride armor action here. However, I'm actually going to switch into X, because I want to get him a life up too. He is going to be important to the action after all, and I might as well start buffing him up, so there will be a couple of instances. Zero will still be a major player into the offense, but one of the big deals about Extreme is that at some point or another, you will want to start caring about X. After all, life-ups only carry to the character that collects them. Whereas the same factor also applies into Maverick weapons, where the character that defeats the boss is the one that gets their weapon. So, for the longest while, I haven't really cared about who kills what Maverick. This is the one exception, though, where I'm going to have X take on Neon Tiger and get the final blow, after I do a lot of weakening his HP as zero first, but, I mean, nobody's counting, right? So, Neon Tiger, he's usually a bit of a aggressive boss when it comes to X3, but in here he's a bit tamer. That said, I want to be mindful of his close range attacks, or rather his dives. Really, seeing his Ray Claw is a lot more tamer, or sorry, Ray Splash right there, I should have said. It's a lot tamer than, you know, seeing some of his other moves. And I think he's not killable. Okay, that's good. Now to finish him off as X, and we're good. So the reason that I wanted to take him on that way is pretty simple. Now I have the Ray Claw. Now you heard me say earlier that that's actually Catfish's weakness, so what gives? Well, it also turns out it has a bonus effect when used on Launch Octopus for the first time in the fight. You'll see what it's like when we get to there. But let's just say that due to the lack of Boomer Kawanger in Extreme 2, the lacking Boomerang Cutter gets made up for by the Ray Claw. If you know the context behind those clues, then I shall say no more, because I do not want to royally spoil the surprise to anybody that doesn't quite know yet, but let's just say it really got my attention as a kid. So yeah, we earlier heard Launch Octopus's theme happening in Flame Mammoth stage, so Turnabout is fair play, and now we're hearing Flame Mammoth theme in Launch Octopus's stage, which actually sounds pretty nice. It's not a bad combo. Kinda works, but it's also funny when you know the context of what should be where. Now, these blowfish enemies, I don't believe they drain your health whenever you're stuck inside them. Or rather, maybe they do, and that's why they don't explode. Here comes Utuboros. Like with the original X1 stage, there are two of these. The other is guarding not a heart tank or life up, but this time X's body armor capsule. We really don't need that, so we're just going to go ahead and take care of things with the rapid fire, and oh, just barely before it got back underwater. I am glad that happened. Pretty lucky. Alright, so now I gotta switch to the Ray Claw, and once that's that, it's time to make some calamari. Don't blink, folks. Oof. Oh, alright. Hang on. Got him. So, like I said, we don't have Boomer Kawanger, nor the Boomerang Cutter, but the Ray Claw will cut off his tentacles and put him in that stun animation for a while. So, using the vulnerability time that he has, I then just wail on him using the usual practice. In X Mission, despite his weakness being the Tri-Thunder, which X gets from Volt Catfish, it doesn't have a unique weakness animation, and therefore that actually makes his fight a little bit harder on X's side, because it won't do enough damage to the point that he will eventually get out of the stun animation and start jumping and just shooting missiles. But at the very least, taking out his tentacles does rob him of his life-draining tornado attack, so, you know, skulls and crossbones, or whatever the phrase goes. Something like that. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Oh. Sorry about that. Let's try that again. Luckily, there was a checkpoint right there. Alright, and now we've come to the boss room. So, the reused bosses don't necessarily stop here. We got a familiar face returning all the way from X1, it's Velgarder. Is he a doggo or a wolfo? I'll let you all decide, but my personal take is wolfo. So we'll just go ahead and take him on. And this mechanical K9 is gonna face the real power of Zero. Just like that. He was a pretty good boy overall, so, you know, one wolf down and onward into the laboratory, because that's actually where the base of operations for Berkana and Gareth are. They are holed up in Berkana's old workplace, if you can believe that. Alright, here we go. Stage 2 of the fortress levels. We're going to start off with a nifty little trick called platform skip. Just like that. For some reason, I was trying to decide whether to do that with X or Zero. Oh well. I believe Focus has said that technically X has it a little bit easier, maybe. But yeah, that electric field, whenever you see those are... Well, as the game perfectly demonstrates, those are instant kill. Actually, let's go ahead and do a quick soft reset, because I get to now show you a feature that is legal within the run, and also a very distinctive point behind those special checkpoints that have those little thin metal platforms. It's really cool, because this game does have a little cartridge battery that creates autosaves every time you cross those type of checkpoints. So, strategically, I can soft reset the game using A, B, start, and select, and that will get me back to the title screen, and then I can go to the continue menu, where the game then says, you have an autosave, but you can only use it once. Would you like to proceed? Now, as I obviously just brought up, you can only use an autosave once per time, but once you get to a new set of checkpoints with the metal Oreos, as Focus once called it, and is a term that I have stuck with since, then you'll have more autosaves for days, or something to that effect. But there will come a point where I won't be able to autosave anymore, particularly once we have beaten the 3rd fortress stage. So I'm going to be a little bit careful not to do that, lest I have to waste a lot of time and cover up some untreaded ground, or already treaded ground, rather. So, next is a rather infamous boss for casual players, myself especially when I first played this on my US cartridge, Isaz and Suilo, colloquially known as the Sphinx Tank, and these guys take up half of the health bar in total, and a lot of screen space. Luckily, Zero's saber has the ability to push them back. Unfortunately, it doesn't stop him from getting poked by the drill on the front of the tank, but that's neither here nor there. So we're going to try that once more, and the overall fight sees me wanting to destroy both heads. Their weakness is Tunnel Rhino's weapon, so in this case I have Drill Crush to use, which is great because I can pilot Zero to go backward. It's really helpful that way. X is also usable for the fight. In fact, let's go ahead and do that now, because I didn't want to die for Zero. You notice that whenever a character dies, I can't, or rather runs out of health, I can't switch to the other one automatically. This is not Mega Man X8, unfortunately. Alright, there we go. A little bit of time lost playing it's a little safe, but hey, no problem. Always know your safety strats in a marathon. Alright, so now we're gonna go shopping, and I will be sure to tell you all about the DNA souls and parts very soon. But for now, this is what we're gonna get. We just purchased Saber +2, Buster +1 and +2, Speed Shot, and Ultimate Buster. Speed Shot is optional, but because X is able to hold up to 4 parts when he does not have his full armor set, I do it as a bit of a just because notion. And then I'm gonna give Zero his Saber +2. And finally, I am going to take a safety game over because that pit was all the way there. It was just a few steps away from the start of the level. And then we're going to retry because that way I have some extra lives to take on this level. And we'll be sitting pretty safely and cozy now. So one thing I have to do, though, is make sure that once I get to the end of this section, I'm going to be X. So now we don't have to worry about taking the bottom hallway. So in X mission and Zero mission, this stage would actually be your last level of the playthrough, and that the final boss would either be Gareth or Berkana, depending on who you're using. In X mission, it will be Berkana, so you'll go to the top level, and as Zero, you're going to fight Gareth on the bottom level. We usually choose to go with X. One, it's because in the 100% category, you have to do so, as there is a secret capsule for the Hadouken and Shoryuken in this very stage, provided that you collected everything else leading up till now. Aside from that, it's also easier to do in general, whereas fighting Gareth may potentially go faster, but it's usually the RNG that he has to offer which we just don't want to deal with. Berkana's fight is a lot simpler. But Now you've also seen me do a little something called a momentum jump, which is kind of like bunny hopping. Provided that I hit the jump button at the exact moment necessary, my dash momentum will still carry into the next jump. So, not the most consistent thing to perform, therefore it's not really the biggest concern, but if you are a task creator, you would definitely want to make use of that. Now we're going to go into the Berkana boss battle. And this is where we fight an opponent that not only uses the Sigma Chamber from X4 somehow, but also the Alphabet against us. Berkana can use a few attacks to her own, but the most prominent ones are A spheres and B spheres. If I touch one of them, that corresponding button will be locked, and I don't want to do that, because on top of that, she also turns either the floor or the walls into spikes, and those will instant kill, so we're just gonna buster her down like that, easy peasy. And as we go into our final stage, Zero has already taken care of Gareth, so we only need to fight one of the two. And that's the game. Apparently, the Soul Racers have been vanquished and all that stuff. I guess there's no reason to fight anymore. Oh! Or maybe it was Sigma all along. Well, now we gotta fight him, because what's a Mega Man X game without a Sigma battle? So, as we get into the boss rush, I should explain the DNA souls. You heard me say that health drops and weapon refills that are in the shape of a diamond with white circular centers, those will give you points. Single clusters, as I like to call them, are 4 apiece, double clusters are 8 apiece, and triple clusters are typically 16, but there's a bit of RNG where sometimes they can give you 12 for some unknown reason. And then when you defeat a boss for the first time, you will also get a drop as well. So this is good because those are 200, and that's how I've been mostly making bank before heading into the parts shop. So now that we've gotten more than enough saved up, a lot of parts opened, access for us to purchase. The parts shop is a bit interesting in that certain things will only become available if you have a number of unspent souls in your wallet. Not collected all together, it has to be unspent. And that's why I didn't really get anything after Saber Plus 1 and the Energy Saver. Saber Plus 1, though, is so easy to get that you might as well buy it since you already have it given to you by defeating Skullhead. So, well, unless you somehow get the RNG of only getting like 100 points or something like that. Anyway, Sponge Go Mad. I wasn't really thinking, so that's on me. But yeah, they're like how triple clusters can potentially give you 12 instead of 16. You can sometimes get 100 souls from the boss drops, and that's especially bad in extreme mode and Zero mission runs. Like, no bueno. So, aside from Zero getting a fully powered Saber, and X getting a fully powered Buster with increased shot speed, what's the reason that I also got the Ultimate Buster? Well, it turns X's charged shots into... well, yeah. It turns X's normal shots into charged shots. So now we have a rapid charge shot Buster. You would think this is pretty useful, but you would actually be mistaken, since the damage balancing in Extreme 2 is a little bit off whack. Where Extreme 1 bosses may have taken a bit of extra damage compared to what the normal shots might do to them, in Extreme 2 it really doesn't make a difference that we just use rapid fire instead of auto charge, whereas in Extreme 1 we're mostly going to use auto charge. So it's a bit of a vice versa situation. But charge shots will still be necessary for Sigma's final form, because in the case of dealing damage as X, he only gets hurt from charge shots, so we have to use those on him. Zero's Saber is seemingly fine on its own, though, although it can be a bit finicky. So as we're going through the rest of the Mavericks, not really no big differences here to be found, just going through all the stuff, all that jazz. Just a few more to go. You are seeing me collect the health because I just want to play it a little safe. No other explanation for that. Come on, Tiger. Yeah, this guy just wants to play dirty. The way of a coward is not befitting of a tiger. And now you get to see Zero take him out no problem. Alright, launch Octopus. Second verse, same as the first. Just like that. Alright, cool. So now we just gotta get to the last teleporter upstairs, and then... Zero, can you please stop doing that? Alright, just gotta get a little bit more health. And then I am going to get us to the final boss chamber. So, quick warning, once again, there will be a lot of flashing in this upcoming Sigma fight. Not the first phase, but the second phase. The first phase is going to be Neo Sigma all over again, aka Wolverine Sigma. So, yeah, get ready to see that happen in, hopefully, the blink of an eye. I am at low health, though, so I'm not doubting a death here, which at this case is perfectly fine. Not much risk and reward there, you know. We are, unfortunately, past PB points, so might as well. Alright, here we go. And shout out to the portraits, by the way. I love just how sly of a grin Sigma has with his. Alright. Once more, flashing lights warning. Please be careful. So, as I mentioned, Sigma is only going to take damage from charge shots, hence why we have a rapid-fire ultimate buster. And then once the beast body here disappears, we can hit the real Sigma, and we're going to do so with the air dash slash, because I neglected to mention that Sigma somehow takes the most damage from this maneuver specifically. And time will be on the final hit. So now he's going to go into his phase 2, where he's starting to only take damage from certain characters. So red means 0 and blue means X. One more hit on Sigma should take care of Sigma Beast, and that'll be the run. So let's get ready. Oh, well, gonna use that sub-tank I saved up for. Oh, now he's starting to use some of his more annoying moves. That said, they do look pretty cool, so... Oh, wow, he's gonna change into X. Oh, and... Oh, I whiffed it. Okay, this is a bit dicey. He's using that move. Okay, we're still in this. Ugh. Didn't think so. Okay. That's fine, we can still finish this. A little unfortunate, but that's just the way it goes. I will say that was totally on me, because if it wasn't for missing the final hit with an air dash slash, he would have been dead on that hit, but he had to survive with a single point of health. Again, no problem, we'll just get on by, and this time we will make it count. I will give a major shout out, though, to the composition team behind this game, or the composer behind this game, as the remixes here on the Game Boy Color's sound chip there's a lot of bangers here. A lot of songs that we already recognize. I forgot that attack does that. Okay, so I've got unfortunate news. Now we have to do the Mavericks again. I am very sorry about that, folks. That was a bit of a catastrophic mistake. How am I looking on my estimate again? Because I forgot if I submitted a, I can't remember if it was like a 43 or a 42. And the worst part is that I can't use the autosave feature either, because at this point, the, alright, cool, we can keep going. Alright. Appreciate it. Like I said, the checkpoints stop here. The autosaving is no longer doable, which means if I soft reset, we go back to Berkana's level. So, you know, I'd rather not do that. Okay, that's a little better. But dang, shame on you, game, for doing me like that when I was just trying to compliment your music, especially the final boss theme, because you might recognize that was a cover of Virus Sigma from X2, and yet it's done in a very different way that I think it's like my favorite arrangement of the song, period. Alright, so now I'm just going to focus a little bit and just try to get this done as fast as possible for y'all. While we're at it, I guess I should ask the chat really quick, what is your favorite handheld Mega Man game? And yes, Battle Network is very valid, as I grew up on that franchise. It's what introduced me to Mega Man, and thus holds a very special place in my heart. So, what is your favorite handheld Mega Man, just in general? I definitely I see Maverick Hunter X being mentioned in chat. Yeah, that's a personal favorite of mine as well. Like, I know it's the version of as a remake. Not everybody is all for it, and that's totally cool. I really like how they made X 2.5D and some of the differences they did in that game. And also, the voice acting features my favorite English dub cast for the X characters, period. That being Blue Water Studios in Canada. Big shoutouts to them. Of course, X being voiced by Mark Gatha, a retired VA at this point, has been for some time. But Lucas Gilbertson, who's still voice acting and definitely going strong, who also is married to Carol Ann Day at this point, which is the voice of Marino from Mega Man X Command Mission, and also would be the voice of the Mega Man Maverick Hunter X, the pink-haired navigator from the intro some of the dialogues within the game, and also, I believe his name was Jeffrey Watson, the voice actor to Axel in X8 and Command Mission, my favorite version of Axel, undoubtedly. Alright, we're back here, and we're gonna finish this, whether Sigma wants us to or not. I do swear by my Boy Scouts honor, I guess, that the hitbox for Sigma Beast as Zero is a lot higher than you would expect it to be, whereas in his red variant, where only Zero can hit him, they just made it by his kneecap. It's a lot lower, surprisingly so. This move, he's... Oh, wait. Okay. No, this is him as Zero. Sometimes the game has it where he will change color, and yet he doesn't physically show it, and this is just that instance. And... time! Whew. And that, folks, is Mega Man Xtreme 2 Extreme No Credits Warp. I gotta say, that was a bit of a wild one. Quite a bit of kickback, both of my runs today doing so. But I still had a good time getting to show this game off for you, and I hope you all enjoyed it as well. This is a really fun time. Even if you don't want to speedrun it, I highly recommend that you casually play the Extreme games. While they were available on the 3DS Virtual Console, because the eShop sadly closed purchases, there's no other way to legally acquire them other than a means of a cartridge. But if you ever have the opportunity to play them in whatever way you choose, don't let me stop you, please. It's worth it. And Capcom, I definitely want you to make a Hidden Gems collection with these games, the Mega Man Game Boy games, and Mega Man Soccer if you can. With that... any of the X handheld games, we have a topic for that, and we are not a lot of active runners, but this small handful of us are more than happy to answer your questions. Big shout-outs to Elpis, to Poisson, Phazon Knight, Focus Sight, Rose Zorn, and just any of the other oh yeah, Curitiba, and just about anyone else that has done a run with those games. Very much appreciate it. And thank you so much to Ahmad and crew for having me for Derpathon, the very first Derpathon. It is an honor to be a part of its history, and you all have been such a great crowd. That's going to do it for me, though, and I hope you all have a great rest of the event. Until we next meet, if you want to follow me, I'm tempestmask1000 here, YouTube, at its Tempest Steve on Twitter, and Tempest Mask on Blue Sky. And actually, if it wouldn't be too much trouble, I actually will be doing a Summer Games Done Quick speedrun of Castlevania Legends, so please feel free to check me out if you want to see me then. Aside from that, take care everybody. Till we next meet, ciao amici.